In today's video, I'm going to be talking about all the trades I took for the last 2 weeks and give you an update on how this is going, especially with using ChatGPT to help me become a better trader. And overall, the experience has been really good. As a high level overview, trading has gotten a little bit better. My control has gotten a lot better. I'm seeing a lot better winners when I do have winners, and my losers are definitely being cut shorter overall. So just a high level overview of my trading so far. And I know I haven't put a video out in over a week because I've been super busy, but my goal is to actually start putting out more videos every single day when I do take trades. And I know this is going to push me a little bit more with my YouTube channel just to do that so I can put more out there, get more videos out there to you guys and share the trades as they're happening, and maybe even try to start recording these trades as they happen and then putting them in my videos so you can see them live and how they work and stuff. So today we're going to be going through the last 2 weeks. So just starting out last week, so not this week, but the week before, the July 6th through the 10th, I took a total of 10 trades and only had 4 winners in total and 6 losing trades. But when you look at what my losing trades were, they weren't really bad here. So I had this day where I had $52 in loss, but that's 2 trades. So that's only like, $26 of loss. This one's a little bit higher. This one's a little bit higher, but look at this, $10.23, only because I traded 38 shares. But lower trades, I mean, these were under 30. That's what we're trying to do, is stay at 30 and less. And we're getting there pretty close. A couple of them come up. So I'm definitely cutting my losers really quick, and I'm following the risks that I set out for myself in this. And I'm going to show you how I do this with ChatGPT too, so you can do exactly the same thing. And I recommend that you do start doing this. If you didn't know what I'm doing here, and maybe your first time watcher to this channel, I use ChatGPT to review all my trades so it can give me advice psychologically, like mentally, here's some of the issues that you're having with your trades, and I'm going to go through those trades in here in just a little bit. But I had a complete video that discussed how I did all this. You can watch that. It's the previous video. This one, I'll put a link to it in the description below. So going overall, that was 10 trades right there. And then as far as losers go, I had $169 in losers, and I had $159. So it was about a 1-to-1 risk reward there. Overall, I pretty much broke even that week. That's why I didn't really want to discuss a lot of it. It wasn't really a lot of great information, a lot of great things, but this week's definitely getting a little better though. When we start looking at this week though, from the 13th all the way to the 16th, no, actually yesterday was the 17th, so the 17th would have been that trade. But we look at that trade, so from here we took again 7 trades, but I had 4 winners and 3 losers, which tells me I'm over a 50%. Then this last week I did over 50% on my trading. For my consistency trade win percentage, that's a pretty good step when you get over 50. And then overall, we look at the what I lost for the week. I lost 112, but I ended up making 231. So we have what is that? A 2-to-1 risk reward right there. That's pretty good. My winners are way bigger than my losers. I had some losers in there last week that weren't the best. These $45 losers, that definitely pumped up my risk to reward. So it wasn't as good, pushing me more towards a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. And this right here, definitely good, $231 winner. And I had some really devastating trades, and these, especially here on this SPCX trade I'll go over, it just totally ended up was going to be a winner. And I mean, I kind of was a little frustrated with that, and that was kind of one of my days where I was off a little bit, so I was kind of off my game, but I ended up getting it figured out and straightening it out. And we this week was definitely a huge improvement over the week before, so definitely getting good. So let's just look at the calendar view real quick here. So last week we had these losses in there, ended up going wait, that's June or July, yeah. So we had we had a losing week technically the week before. After the July 4th week, $9.71 is what I ended up losing total. But overall this week ended up with $118, almost $119 profit. If I wouldn't have had this one red day on Thursday, would have been a beautiful week, right on target, following my rules, really getting everything locked in. And so far, we're up $2.26 for the month. So not too bad. We're getting the hang of it. We're getting better. I'm still going to spend a few more weeks trading things before I decide to get into like trade the pool and start getting into prop firms and things like that, because I want to make sure that I'm trading at the best, just a better scale of things than I'm doing like the last week. This week, if I could hold this week right here, I would definitely be ready to go. But I want to get a few more weeks under my belt before I decide. That's where I'm at. And then overall for my results for the week, let's see here. I'm trading overall for the month at just over a 1-to-1 risk reward, meaning I'm earning, making every dollar I would lose, I'm making $1, whereas a 2-to-1 risk reward, I'm making $2 for every dollar I lose. So doing pretty good there. Total of 14 red trades so far for the month, 12 green trades. So I'm just slightly under 50% total for the month. But if you remember the first week or so, in the first 2 weeks of this month, the beginning of this month, that partial week and that full week, I was not trading what I'm trading now, how I'm trading now. So that still factored into this. I think my risk to reward, or my trade win percentage, would be a lot higher if I didn't have that first part of the month in there. And then when we look at our average green trade here, 52.87 to 45.16, and that gives me this 1.17. So I'm earning like $1.17 to every dollar I'm losing. So it's not bad. It's definitely a 1-to-1 is a good starting point. A 2-to-1 is really good. And if you can get to a 3-to-1, that's great. I'm not counting on that right now. I'm strictly trading 2-to-1. So let's get into the trades in question that I was trading. This was July 6th right here. This was the trade I traded right. So I trade a break of pre-market high or a break of pre-market low. So what I do in the morning is my pre-analysis. I go in, I look at the charts, specifically for Tesla, NVDA, and SPCX are the three I'm really looking at right now, because they seem to be the most volatile, and they're always making a breakout move typically in the morning. One of those three stocks typically is, and that's why I'm focusing on those. So this stock is Tesla right here. I entered this trade right here on this line, and then did my 0.3% risk, so about 1/3% risk on a 2-to-1, and ended up squeaking out with a nice winner on this trade. So I think on that trade, we'll go back here. Overall, that would have been, let's see, the 6th was this trade. I made 20 bucks. For some reason, I don't know why it only made 20 bucks, but not quite sure. I'd have to go back and look at that number. That should have been a bit higher. I think I didn't have, oh yeah, I remember. This did not have the correct proper 2-to-1 set up correctly. I remember that I set my risk a little bit low because I'm getting used to this, how to trade this. Because one of the things I'm doing here is when I get in these trades, so I set the parameters up. My risk is this red, and the green, this is what I got to get to take profit. So what I'm doing is I'm setting this up, and I'm just saying, okay, once this hit green, I'm out. But if it hits the top of the red, I'm out as well. So I'm taking either, I'm going to have $30 in loss on a $10,000 account at 0.3% is roughly 30 bucks. Or I'm going to have a $60 winner. And that keeps your risk in check, and that keeps you at your better winners, higher winners, and lower and smaller losing trades. So you're going to do a lot better there. So that was the first trade I took on Monday. But one of the things I like to do, and my chart does this, and I like how this works. It gives me a score on how I did on that trade. So overall, my setup quality was a 9 out of 10. Entry discipline was a 9 out of 10. Stop discipline was a 10 out of 10, because I went right to the stop and got out. Target discipline was 10. Emotional control was an 8 out of 10. On this next trade, I went in. I had a few trigger issues, but let's see. I got in. It was a short position. I entered at 411.54. My stop was at that, and I exited at 412.79. So this was a losing trade, but it still counts as a good trade because I followed my rules. I followed the execution exactly how I defined it, and then I followed it to a T. And when I got out, I did have some slippage, I think, on the exit, because my exit was supposed to be at 49. I was a little bit over on that. So, but I did follow the process, and ChatGPT did give me a good A- on that trade overall. And then when we look at the actual psychological scorecard, I think, again, Setup was a 9 out of 10. Discipline was an 8 out of 10. I kind of faltered on that, had slight hesitation, but still executed. The target was good. I accepted the loss rather than turning it into hope. Here's that was the chart that I traded that day. It came down, and honestly, I shouldn't. The trade setup was not that good here because yes, it broke down, but look at this wick. It's so long. But again, the risk management 9.5. So the score is 9.0 on that trade. All right, so let's get into a few more of these trades here. The 3 trades I took. Okay, so this one would have been on Wednesday, July 8th. I traded 2 different trades here. One on Tesla that ended up not working, even though this chart shows that it hit right to my mark here. But when you look at this trade overall, I got in here and it broke out. I got in way early. I should have let this trade kind of play out a little bit. Again, the wick was too long. Should have got in more down in this candle because this candle never broke above. So once I had got in here, I would have probably been enough to hit that target. So it was a close call there, but it would have worked. Second trade was a loser on NVDA, but the third trade was a winner. And was something interesting about that day. That's kind of interesting because that's the 8th. So I had 2 losers on the 8th, which was a $41 loser and a $37 loser, slightly above my normal numbers. But then I was also trading NVIDIA later on in the day, and I took that trade for $81 and I had $79. So I actually came out net positive that day because I took that trade the way I did. And when you follow that, the reward to risk ratio of $2 to every $1 of loss, that's how you get this kind of situation where you lost $79, but then I took a winning trade and the winning trade came out positive, and I actually came out ahead that day as a result. Not very far, but I was. So when you take a positive trade, when you follow those risk management rules, this is what ends up happening. You get a couple losers, but you can take your third trade and it can make back almost all the losses. So it's a perfect example of how following your risk to reward on those days can be very helpful. So, all right, going back, let's see here. So that was trade 3, it was a winner. And overall, let's see, emotional psychology report card. That was a 10 out of 10 day. Perfect day. Did really good there. I followed the rules and I followed the execution. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. And even though I had 2 losing trades and had a 33% risk reward or trade win percentage that day, I still came out as a winner and not losing any money hardly any money because of that, following those rules. Okay, so let's go to the next one. I got in here right at my break of pre-market low, followed the trade, trended down and broke right to here. I think this was Monday on NVIDIA. So on Thursday, July 9th, it was a winning trade, did pretty well. Overall, was a $29 winner. One thing I did have an issue why that wasn't. It was a great trade, but I only got 24 shares of that stock because I was trading short. And some reason in Webull, when I take a short position, it only gives me 24 shares or half of my position size. So I have to hit the button a few more times to get the full position that I would be trading if I would go long. So overall, that trade did well. It's 24 trades, half the size due to platform issues. And then my psychological report card, 9 out of 9 total. So target discipline, stayed with the trade, slight miss due to execution and timing, not emotion. So not too bad there. And then we go to Monday. So we go to the following week, I think Friday, but Monday, that was this trade right here. So overall, that was a winning trade at $62.92 there. So 10 out of 10 score on that. And I've been actually taking all these scores and actually averaging them out. So that's one thing I am tracking now, which is tracking my emotional discipline. This is my trade execution and mental discipline all put into one score. So you can track that score as well and see how well you're doing at it. Overall, trade execution was really good. This stock actually got up in here and actually reversed after that. Overall, all I'm doing is taking a break, a pre-market high. It's a simple trade. I mark my high right here. And then when I break that spot, that's where I'm getting in the trade at. So this trade here, which would have been on Tuesday this week, was not a winner. 48 shares, $22.51. What happened on this particular trade, I remember this, it came up and then just reversed. And I got out and it actually pulled back up in this area. So I ended up getting out for a much better loss when it broke. So that's why it was at 22.51 as my loss. So when you average them losses out, overall that helped. But then we go to Tuesday. This would have been Wednesday, 48 shares. I had a really good trade there on the 14th. I had one losing trade and I had one winning trade. The second trade I took was this one right here on NVDA. Yep, got in at the break right here. I actually got a really not so good fill. I actually should have been a little bit lower down towards 207, and instead I filled at 208. And it still ended up working out, even though it consolidated in this range right in the middle here. But it still ended up pushing higher, which was a great trade. I would have taken that trade any day of the week. It was just, if I had to do it over again, I would have taken it again. And it took a little bit, took a while. It actually took over about an hour to execute this trade. Here's my psychology report card for it, 10 out of 10. This trade ended up working out really well too. This is my trade on Tesla. Ended up breaking the pre-market high, shot up higher, broke above my thing easily. The one thing that was a little tricky about this trade, and it kind of doesn't meet all my rules, I have to hold a trade for at least 30 seconds. And I remember this trade very specifically because right at the opening bell, this thing shot up way past. I got a really good fill at the open and this thing shot way up. And here it is like 1 or 2 seconds into the trade, and I have to hold the trade for 30 seconds or at least on trade the pool. This thing came up and it kind of come back down. It was coming up and I was like, so I was a little bit hesitant there. Should I get out of this trade even though I'm not meeting my 30 second? And I ended up breaking that rule and got out at the stop loss. I think I got out for $48.25 on Tesla. I accept that, but I think the next time I do that, I'm going to just hold it and let the chips fall. And I think that's one of the big things you have to understand. You just got to let the chips kind of fall where they may. You just can't control what the stock market's going to do, but you can say, hey, it's trending this way, so I'm going to take that trade. And it's always that 50-50 chance if it's going to work out. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So the last few trades here for the week. So SpaceX was the next trade I took. This one was my frustrating trade I was talking about at the beginning of the video. It did my pre-market break of high again, got in, and look, it broke, but I didn't take profit because it came up and it broke below, came back down. So I thought, I'm going to wait. And this thing, it was weird because this stock came up and then it came up and then it came up. And then all of a sudden it just sat there right before my take profit. And then it broke above and then it broke right below. And I thought I should have taken profit right there, but I didn't. I said, hey, it didn't stay above. I think it'll come above. And then it did the next thing. It went to the candle and look, it flushed. And guess what? Stopped me out and I was out for the trade. It was a little bit frustrating in that particular trade because this was Thursday. So it was like, I wanted a winner so bad. I felt like I had the hang of this and I got overconfident here and I just totally messed it up. And I did what I normally do. I took a second trade exactly right after that. And guess what? Burned out. And then I took 2 terrible trades. The first one was good. The second one was a terrible trade and I just kind of messed it up. So I turned off my computer and I said, hey, you know what? I'm done today. I took 2 trades. What I should have done is just held off for 5 minutes, let this thing go and let it come back down and taken a second try at it. I would have probably had a winner, but it didn't end up doing that because I didn't follow my rules there. So I did break rules on Thursday. That was the first time in a few weeks. So after starting this trading plan that I'm doing now with ChatGPT and reviewing my trades, this is probably the first time that happened. So, but you know what? We corrected. I did lose, I think on that day, I lost $90, just over $90 here. So it is a loss, but I still wasn't out. I'm not done. My score came out to an 8.8. If we look at my report card for that day, basically my psychology report card said 10 out of 10, but my second trade was definitely a 7.5. My emotional control was gone, but I stayed calm, but I didn't spiral. And that's the big deal. Like a lot of times when that would happen to me in the past, I would sit there and just zone out and let emotion take over and I would take 10 trades and I would just lose more and more money. Whereas today I was like 2 trades and I'm out. And one of the things I am doing is I'm maxing out at 3 trades. That's it. 3 trades is a max day for me. I don't want to take any more than that because I know if I had 2 bad trades and 1 winning trade, like I showed earlier, I can still break even. But I also have to remember that 3 bad trades is still $90 if I lose $30 per trade. But overall, that day was probably one of my lower scores at 8.8. So not bad, but it did lose some money and brought my score down a little bit. And then we have the very last day that I had overall trading, and that was yesterday on Friday. I did this trade right here where it did a break of pre-market low, came down, and it did take a little bit, but was a beautiful trade. It didn't falter too much, broke right below, got my trade. I actually got out under I got an extra 17 or 18 cents on that trade. Ended up getting a 59, almost $60 winner. It was a green trade, and I had a 10 out of 10 for a score that day. My psychology report card definitely looked good that day. My exits, everything was perfect. I executed just as I should have. So did a really good trade there. So overall, the trades for the week before, not as good. This week, definitely better. My risk to reward is definitely much better this week when you look at the overall amount I earned for the week, $231 versus the $112. I mean, that's a 2-to-1 risk reward for my whole week. That's a great week. I would take that week every single week of the year. If I could do that and keep doing it consistently over and over and over. And I'm telling you what, if you can follow those rules, the risk and parameters, and maybe I should do a video on it to explain risk to reward ratio and how you have to set up your trades and how to do these things, so you get a little better at it. Maybe if you're learning my strategy or you're trying somebody else's, just following risk to reward parameters in any single trade that you're taking, as long as you're following those risk to reward parameters, you'll have much better luck being a successful trader. Because here's what happens if I show you the beginning of my month, here's what some of my trades were. Yeah, this one was $32 winner, but it should have been double that. I can tell you right now, looking at that trade with 50 shares, I should have been double that score. I should have been $64 instead of 32. This trade here, a little better, but it was a loss. This is a $30 loss. Not terrible. I've had worse, but this one right here, $112. I can tell you right now, I blew past my stop and just kept hoping that this trade was going to turn out, and it didn't. It did not turn out. and ended up being a huge loss, and that brings down your score. This one, I followed my rules a little better, but let's look at this one. I ended up taking a big loss again. Why? Because I just kept holding and hoping. So if you follow the risk to reward parameters, you take small amounts of risk, 1/3 of a percent, 1/2 a percent. I think that's, for a beginner, that's the most you're going to want to take. You're trying to stay in these prop firms to follow the rules. You don't want to lose any more $30 to $50 per trade. I like 1/3 because that means let's say my drawdown for a day can be $200. If I take 3 trades and they're all losers, that's going to be maybe 1% of my entire capital. I could still take 3 more trades, lose 3 more trades, and I still wouldn't blow through my drawdown for the day. So overall, that means that my losers will be smaller, my winners will be bigger, even though maybe my consistency score, if you're not doing as well on your consistency, your trade win percentage, this will definitely help turn that around for you. You'll start seeing more winners as a result of that. So overall, this last week has been a decent, great week. I would take that again. So if you like this video, definitely subscribe, hit the like buttons, notifications, all that fun stuff. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.